And the most important element in this connection, we cannot form the government and do the elections without the Central Commission of Elections to be able to work freely and diligently and in a quick way to be able to update the books for elections in the Gaza Strip. We have 290 plus stations in Gaza. There are those who died, there are those who are young, and now they can participate in elections. In the West Bank, we update these files of voters and voters registration on daily basis. On the Gaza Strip, for the last 6 months, it has been closed, and we don't have this happening. So therefore, we need from our brothers in Hamas to allow these stations to operate, for the employees to go back to their posts, and to update these books, so that when President Abbas form a government, and then to be told by the Central Commission of Elections, yes, we are ready to conduct elections. At that moment, then President Abbas can issue a decree, if he succeeds in forming the government, in saying 3 months from now, the election will take place in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. So these challenges need to be resolved, and I hope that we can resolve them as quickly as possible. Of course, there are other issues, but they are not related to Hamas or PLO or Fatah. Of course, we want the participation of the 250,000 Palestinians in East Jerusalem. This issue is with Israel, and as in the past our friends helped us to get this issue resolved, we ask our friends to help us to resolve that issue as well. But let me conclude by sharing with you the following. There is tremendous amount of frustration among the Palestinians in the occupied territory. The peace process is not getting anywhere. It is at standstill, and with the revealing of this thinking of the Israelis, it's even depressing the people more. Going to the United Nations, we are into, if we decide to begin with it soon, then we know that we are going to be punished severely, especially on the financial front. That is why President Abbas asked the Arab ministers in the meeting in Cairo that you need to step up to the plate and provide us with financial help, because if we go back to the General Assembly and to become a member of other agencies, that we will be punished and our money will be hijacked, and we need to provide for our people when we enter that battle. The Israeli side is making a bad situation worse. They're intensifying their illegal settlement campaign. The settlers are going into belligerency and violence against the Palestinian people. And the campaign against East Jerusalem, including holy places, Muslim and Christian, is on the rise by extreme settlers against our people. They are pushing the envelope. And when people are so frustrated because nothing is working and they don't see hope at the end of the tunnel or positive possibilities emerging here or there, and you keep pushing them with this offensive from the occupying forces, and you are living the Arab Springs, you look around you, things are burning everywhere, then what is the logical conclusion? You are having combustible material, gasoline, next to matches. Any small incident could erupt in the occupied territory, and we don't know where it will end. And frankly speaking, if that hero, that prisoner who went on a hunger strike for 66 days, prisoner Adnan Khadir, I think his name, Khadir Adnan, had he died one more day, he would have been Bouaziz of Palestine. But the Israeli occupying authority blinked, because they knew what it means for this hero to challenge them, and with his death to God knows what will be unleashed. They struck a deal with him and his lawyer, which in essence, they said that we will free you in April and we will not administratively detain you any longer. So I'm just showing that as an example of a situation that is so depressing that any incident that the Palestinian people perceive it as an incident that is so humiliating to them, then they could erupt, as they did in 1987. It was not planned, but it was a logical conclusion for everything that preceded it, and also as in the year 2000. So therefore, it is the duty of everyone, the international community, the US administration, and everybody else, is not to abandon the Palestinian people, to give them hope, to muster a political will to bring Israel into compliance with international law and its obligation. Because if that is not to happen, then it will be the destiny of the Palestinian people when the international community and mighty powers shirked their responsibility and they refused to shoulder their responsibilities to do the right thing and to act on the basis of the right thing that they say. Then it would be the destiny of the Palestinian people to again take their issue in their hands and to decide what will be decided. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mansour, thank you very much, Ambassador, for your revealing and extremely articulate presentation this afternoon. I know we started a little late. Those of you that feel that you're missing your carpool, must leave, please, you're welcome to do so without embarrassing anybody. Those of you who would like to remain and ask questions, please, you're invited to do so. We have about another 20 minutes of questions. I know he's raised a lot of extremely interesting issues, and I know you do have questions, so if I could throw it up, yes. Please wait for the microphone, because we are televising this, and that picks up your question. If you could identify yourself, please.
My name is Ken O'Gray. I'm a former Foreign Service officer with the State Department, with service in many Arab countries and in Israel also. Ambassador, I would like to ask one thing. You raised the issue of Hamas toward the end of your presentation. And I wonder, because we wonder whether there might be a way for your side, PLA, the less extreme Palestinians, to approach the leaders of Hamas, perhaps even the members, and very gently suggest that they may be operating not in their best interest, but indeed in Israel's interest. Why? Because in refusing to recognize Israel, and they allow themselves to be branded terrorists, and secondly, by enabling the Palestinians to be divide and conquer. So it seems to me to be common sense to ask them, in whose long-term interest are you really operating with this? Can you revise your policies? And obviously this would make a big difference for Palestinian unity. So with that provocation,
No,
I'll leave you.
well, I appreciate what you are saying, but let me just also add that, our brothers in Hamas, they are, very serious politicians, and they know what they're doing. And also, they are influenced by what is really happening in the Arab world. And one can see the transformation of their thinking. In this connection, I'll give you a reference to the speech of Brother Khalid Mash'al after signing the documents in Cairo in May of last year. In his speech, he gave, frankly speaking, 2 out of the 3 concessions that are required from them. One, he said that we accept to have a state on the 4th of June of 1967, which is different than the well-known position of Hamas of talking about, liberating Palestine from the sea to the river. In this connection, there is no difference now between the position of the PLO and the position of Hamas. They evolved into that position because they are in contact with many people, and they came to the realization that that is the realistic political platform that would be acceptable by many, including their sister organizations of the Muslim Brotherhoods in Egypt, in Tunisia, and in other places, who have been advising them to follow this line. So that's one evolution. The second evolution, he said that we will honor not to fight and fire from Gaza, and to have this hudna, or ceasefire, for 1 year, maybe longer. So in that sense, there is no difference between the leaders in the West Bank and in Gaza in terms of not resorting to violence and accepting peaceful struggle against the occupying forces against us. That's also another transformation of the thinking of Hamas. And Hamas would go after those who fire rockets in the Gaza Strip and to try to pressure them not to do it. The last item is the recognition. Now the recognition has taken place here in Washington when President Arafat was here. He, on the lawn of the White House with President Clinton and the late Prime Minister of Israel, he recognized on behalf of the PLO the State of Israel, the right of the State of Israel to exist. And in return, Rabin recognized the PLO as the representative of the Palestinian people. So therefore the recognition has taken place by the officials, the Palestinian officials who represent all of us. So therefore it is not necessarily required from political parties such as Hamas or Fatah or any other components of the PLO to recognize or not to recognize. That is a political party that has, that they can have any position they want. In fact, there are political parties inside Israel that they have more extreme positions vis-a-vis us, and we are not demanding that these parties to honor and respect agreements and what have you vis-a-vis us. Some of them, they refuse to recognize the PLO. But, we deal with those who are elected as a representative of Israel, and as we expect Israel to deal with us, the leaders of the PLO, because we are entrusted with the file of negotiation with the Israelis, with the approval of all of our brothers, including Hamas. So therefore, I believe that Hamas is evolving, and it's moving in a direction that is acceptable. And let me just even share with you that leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and Tunisia and others, who are themselves are adjusting themselves to be accepted by the United States and Western Europe on the eve of themselves governing. They know if they want to govern and to have a relationship with the West, they have to accommodate themselves into what the West would accept. That is the explanation, for example, of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. They keep repeating, we'll honor and respect the Camp David Agreement between Egypt and Israel. Their advice to Hamas, you cannot be accepted by the West until you become part of the official political system of Palestine, meaning that until you become part of the PLO. And you can see now change of the thinking of Hamas, who were thinking for a while that they want to be the replacement of the PLO, to sharing with the PLO and other political groups the political system in Palestine. So one needs to look at these changes and see them And if President Abbas succeed in forming this transitional government, it will be the government of President Abbas. It will be the government of the PLO. And Hamas is working to be part of the PLO. They are part of the committee to reform the PLO and the leadership of the PLO. They came to the realization that the PLO represents all of us, and we can, in a democratic way, struggle within the PLO, and those who in elections might become the leaders of the PLO, by all means should be respected, and that decision should be honored. But they realized that the official Palestinian political system led by the PLO is accepted by the world, and that is very important, and I think that they are moving in that direction to be part of that political system, and it is legitimate for them to run for elections, and if they win again and lead again, everybody should respect these results. So I think that Hamas is not what it used to be in the past. And also let me conclude, it is ironic that people say that, oh, for Hamas to be removed from the list as a terrorist organization. Do you know that we, the PLO, until now, we are on the list as a terrorist organization in Washington, D.C., and every 6 months the president issue a waiver not to shut down our office here because it is an office of a terrorist organization. After all these things, and after the fact that Yasser Arafat was the most frequent visitor to President Clinton in the White House, but yet they did not remove from the list in Congress that we are still considered as a terrorist organization.
That's a fascinating answer.
Isn't it?
Thank you very much. Sir?
You have to give ladies.
Yes.
Men and women, balance.
Hi, my name is Ira Weiss. As long as you're willing to give us some of your insights into Hamas thinking, what?
Maybe I'm not the most qualified to speak.
Well, I realize you don't represent them, but you certainly
I represent all the Palestinians at the UN.
All right, then you do represent
all of them.
So, what is, in your, from your perspective, what is Hamas's big problem with Fayyad? I mean, he seems from the West to have been very successful in creating in the West Bank a thriving, relatively thriving economy and stability, and a government that's de facto recognized by 130 countries. What is Hamas's problem with Fayyad that they're so adamant that he has to go?
You know that Fayyad has a bigger problem with Fatah than Hamas. No, I'm just telling you. I think that he is doing a good job. He is, running a government in an efficient way, very transparent, well respected and trusted by the international community. And that he is building institutions, and Palestinian public employees, including the 77,000 that we have in Gaza, are receiving their salaries on a monthly basis. And 58% of our budget, the budget of our government in Ramallah, is being spent on our people in Gaza. And that is correctly so, because our people are suffering immoral, illegal, inhumane blockade by Israel in the Gaza Strip, and therefore it becomes our duty to give most of our resources to the steadfastness of our people in Gaza. We pay the bills of the energy in Gaza, the electricity, the gasoline, the water, because most of it is being bought from Israel, and the Israeli occupying authority deduct the money from our tax collection that they do on our behalf. They take it from the top. Before we see a penny, they take their money from it. So the gentleman is doing a great job by the admission of the Palestinian people. So maybe some people are, I don't know how, I don't want to interpret the position or the motives of people why they dislike him, but he is a successful prime minister.
Thank you. Okay, a young lady, the blue.
Hi, my name is Rhonda. I'm from the American University and the University of Oslo. And you made
University of Oslo?
Oslo, yeah.
Okay, good.
You made several points that explained why the peace process has not been successful. But I think maybe you missed out of one critical point, because for me it doesn't sound like neither Palestine or Israel is ready for negotiations at all. Because how can you negotiate when you're not even on the same page? And how can you have a constructive negotiation with someone that, in your own words, you see as a monster? And is it possible to...
No, I said the monster is the settlement campaign.
Okay. But how could you be able to change this hostile view between Israel and Palestine so that you can be able to make some constructive negotiations?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with your premise that, the failure of negotiation is the responsibility of the two parties. I don't. We are truly committed to negotiation and to peace because we are the ones that suffer the most. We are the people who live under occupation. And we will gain the most once we put an end to occupation and we have independence. Of course, the Israelis will gain as well because there will be peace. So therefore, these are the underlying assumptions that motivate us to come and negotiate in good faith and to come and put proposals, reasonable proposals on the table. Remember that we, the Palestinian people and their leadership, transformed our thinking from saying that this land, all of it is ours, and transforming our thinking from half of it is ours in accordance with Resolution 181, to accepting to build a state on 22% of the national homeland, which is the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem. You don't see a similar transformation of thinking on the other side of the Israelis. Until now, they refuse to acknowledge all different administrations in Israel that they're occupiers. At best, they say, this is a contested land. God gave us this land, and we will be so generous to give you some of it. That's their thinking. We transform our thinking from saying that what belonged to my grandfather and my grand-grandfather and was taken and it's part of Israel, I'm ready to forget it because I want to build the Palestinian national homeland on the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem. They don't have a similar transformation of their thinking. There isn't a single responsible Israeli leader, especially Prime Minister, that would say that yes, we are occupiers and we have to evacuate. And in fact, different Israeli ambassadors at the UN, they used to attack me by saying, why aren't you so obsessed with occupation? I am so obsessed with occupation because that is the fact that is suffocating our people. And I always tell them, let our people go. You are occupying. They don't want to accept the notion that they are occupiers. They say that this is a contested land. Let's negotiate how to divide it. That kind of thinking would not lead to peace. So then therefore, if you accept these principles, then you'll see who is benefiting from the continuation of occupation. It's them. They're taking the land, they're building the settlements, they're expanding the settlements, they're building the exclusively Jewish highways, they're taking East Jerusalem. If they find a way to get rid of the 250,000 Palestinians in East Jerusalem, that is not so conspicuous, meaning ethnic cleansing or slaughtering the Palestinians. But they are inventing very creative forms of ethnic cleansing, not by killing us or putting us in trucks and throwing us outside the borders, but they circle us with walls, with settlements, threaten to take our identity card in Jerusalem. You're not allowed to build. If you build, they demolish the house, and then they say that this house that belongs to you, they take it away from you and they give it to a settler's families. They're making the life of our people miserable in East Jerusalem, so that the people in East Jerusalem to select the option of leaving. And then they would say, we did not kick them. But if I put you in this room without food, without water, without anything, and I leave the door open, what will happen after a while? I did not kick you. You decided to leave. These are the new form of ethnic cleansing that they are applying against our people. But guess what? Most of our people in East Jerusalem they are from Hebron. For those who understand Palestinian culture, Hebron are like from Missouri State. Very stubborn people. Okay? And you go to the holy city of Jerusalem, the old city. There are about 50,000 Jerusalemites from Hebron. They are willing to live 10 of them in one room and not leave. So that is good for us. But of course we need to find a solution. The solution is that city has to be partitioned. East Jerusalem is our capital, West Jerusalem is their capital. The holy city inside the walls is the city for all of humanity, for all religions. Not one party can dominate it completely alone. We are willing to entertain ideas of making it an open city for everyone. But to say that this is a Jewish city, never in the history of Jerusalem was the city of one religion. It was always the city of peace for everyone. And we, in our history as Arabs and Muslims and Christians, we celebrated Christmas in Jerusalem and in Bethlehem for the last 2,000 years continuously. And when the Jews were facing the massacres in Europe and in Spain and in other places, and they came to our region and to Jerusalem, we protected. We did not engage in the awful things that happened in Europe. So that is our history. So that then to come and to deny this history and to say this is the history of only of the Jewish faith in Jerusalem, that is not right. It is not accurate. So I'm just giving you an example of who is, the kind of thinking of who is trying to negotiate peace and who wants really to impose his thinking on the other side. They cannot impose their thinking on us. We're willing to negotiate with them and to reach a peace treaty. That is fair, that is just, and that is to live and let live. We are willing to live next to them as good neighbors in peace and security. But we will never accept for them to continue dominating us, occupying us, or offering us a system of apartheid. All these things will not work. What will work? The separation and two-state solution. There is global consensus on this concept. Everybody is saying that. Then who is against it? Why is it not being implemented? We are dying to see it happening. We are dying for the day of independence. But the one who is benefiting the most from it is occupation. So therefore, we have interest in negotiating in good faith to end occupation and to have independence. Let me have one last question.
Okay, one last question.
One of the ladies.
Okay, one of the ladies in the striped shirt.
Hello, my name is Ludmila Bogdan. I'm from Moldova, and I believe like many countries we're kind of debating to accept or recognize Palestine as a country. And it was a big issue about sovereignty and the ability to defend its borders and its people and other stuff. And I believe that you are talking that soon it will happen some upgrades. And I believe you are talking maybe some criteria and requirements that will fulfill those requirements for sovereignty. Can you talk about what upgrades will happen and how?
If you want to apply the Montevideo of 1933 criteria on us, it applies to us. We have a people, we exist as a people in a geographical location, and we have the capacity to enter into a relationship with other countries. As I said, we have 132 countries recognizing us, and we have more than 100 embassies in all corners of the globe. So if you want to follow that formula, it applies to us. Now, they say control, that's another element of the control is, true, we have occupation. It is true that occupation controls certain things, but the control and the sovereignty, it resides on the people. And, we have control among our people. Our people listen to us, they don't listen to the occupying authorities, although they are in control of the borders. They are not in control except of the skies and the seas and the borders in Gaza. So we believe that all these criteria apply to us. And when we negotiated for 1 week with the legal department of the United Nations, as we were preparing our application for admission, the criteria of our application, as was decided by a ruling of the ICJ, the International Court of Justice in 1950, over this specific issue, as to what is the meaning of the Article 4 of the Charter of the United Nations as it applies to admission. The 5 criteria apply to us. That's why our application passed in 1 hour from the Secretary General to the Security Council. And these 5 criteria, it says that you are a state, we are a state. 132 countries recognizing us. And to be a peace-loving state, we sent in the instrument that's saying that Palestine is a peace-loving state. Israel, when they submitted their application, that's what they said. They said that they're a peace-loving state. All states who submit for membership, they just say in a piece of paper that they are a peace-loving state, and that is acceptable. So that's number 2. Number 3, to honor and respect the Charter of the United Nations. We articulated that. And number 4 is 4 and 5, to be able and ready to meet your obligations under the Charter of the United Nations. And we are. So because of these 5 things, which were decided as an explanation of Article 4 of the Charter in a ruling by the ICJ, as to what it means, Article 4, when you submit an application. And the Secretary General is required to verify that you meet these 5 criteria. If you don't meet these 5 criteria, he will not pass your application through. He passed our application through within 1 hour. It means that we meet these 5 criteria. And now we are in station number 2 in the Security Council. Let me give you an example. Formosa, nationalist China, in 2007, submit an application for membership to the Secretary General. After 2 days, he returned the application to them, and he told them, you don't qualify as a state. They challenged him, and they went to the General Committee of the General Assembly, and they said that they wanted to add an item on the agenda to discuss the illegal behavior of the Secretary General for not accepting their application and passing it through to the Security Council. They did not prevail in the General Committee, so that item was not put in the agenda. I'm giving you the negative ones. All those who qualified as states, Secretary General passed their application to the Security Council. We are one of them, and we are in the Security Council. In the Security Council, when the admission committee spent 50 days dealing with our application, the reason why they did not give us a recommendation for political reason, not legal reason. I'm referring to the United States of America, and it has a veto power. So therefore, that is politics. That is not legal articulation. We exist as a people, we exist as a nation. We have 132 countries recognizing us. We have institutions on the ground to run our own affairs as an independent state, not as a poor country, LDC, least developed country, but as a country with middle income. And in fact, I was in a seminar in Cairo just 2 weeks ago, organized by the United Nations, about the money that we lose as a result of occupation every year. And 2 outstanding papers were submitted by high-quality professionals. One by Palestinians, by a think tank institution by the name of Arij. And they gave detailed assessment, broken down item by item, as to how much our economy loses as a result of occupation. They came up with $7 billion annually. The Israeli organization that came up, they used a different method. They said, had the West Bank stayed with Jordan, then the per capita income of the inhabitants would be similar to the Jordanians. And they said that the Jordanians' per capita income today is $5,800 per year. For the people in the West Bank, $2,600. He added, subtracted, multiplied, he came up with a certain number. He did the same thing with regard to Gaza, had it stayed as part of Egypt. Per capita income in Egypt is X, per capita income in Gaza is Y. You subtract, you multiply, you come up with a certain number. The Israeli calculation came up with $9 billion. Ours is more conservative. So either way, whether we lose $8 billion annually as a result of occupation, or $9 billion, this is a huge amount of money. What does that mean? Our GDP is $7.5 billion. If occupation is no more, we will have a GDP of a minimum $13 to $14 billion. Okay? Which means not only that we will be a viable state, we don't need aid from anyone, but we will have surplus on an annual basis of a significant amount of money. We are ready to govern ourselves, to run a state in an efficient way, and to do it well, and to increase the per capita income of our people if we are in control of our resources, and we're independent, and we have sovereignty. And we have all the tools to do it. Thank you again very much.
Thank you so much.